bill. At this time, we will take testimony on House Bill 4770 through 4774. We have Brendan from Great Lakes Gun Rights and National Association for Gun Rights supports the bill and wishes to speak. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. I appreciate having the opportunity to testify before you today. I know that there was hearings last week. Unfortunately, I had previously arranged travel, and I was not able to be here. I'm going to keep my comments brief because there was a lot of good discussion last week. I did have an opportunity to watch the testimony, so I do apologize for not being able to participate. I'm here to testify on behalf of our members and supporters in support of House Bills 4770 through 4774. This bill package will bring a much-needed change to Michigan law. Under existing Michigan law, a CPL is not required to carry a pistol. The catch or requirement for this is that the pistol is carried openly. Concealment requires a permit, not carry. Carry can be done by anyone legally able to possess a pistol. Bills under discussion would allow concealed or unconcealed carry, eliminate the permit requirement for concealed carry. But as was discussed last week, not only does concealment require a permit under current law, but a violation is harshly and severely punished. It is a crime punishable by up to 5 years incarceration to carry a concealed pistol without a permit. Few states punish unlawful carry of a firearm as harshly as Michigan. As Tom Lambert of Michigan Open Carry pointed out, this is where Michigan is worse than states like California. Unlawful carry of a concealed firearm in itself is a victimless crime. No other person is harmed by such carry. Michigan law punishes crimes with a victim less harshly than unlawful carry. I had the opportunity to talk with my father, who's been in law enforcement for 35 plus years. He shared with me that assaulting a police officer that requires medical treatment of the officer is punished less severely with a 4-year felony. It is irrational to punish concealed carry as a felony with a penalty up to 5 years incarceration, particularly when violent crimes where there is an actual injured victim carries less punishment. It is irrational to require a permit with the attendant expense and hassle when unconcealed carry is unregulated. The differentiation between concealed and unconcealed carry is unwarranted. The legislation before you will correct this by permitting concealed carry under the same rules and requirements as existing law, but eliminating the requirement for a permit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you as well. Are there any questions of committee members? Representative Churkin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir, for your testimony today. In regards to training, I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen that testified last week. In open carry, he stated that you get a gun, you don't have to have any kind of training, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know of any incidences of a person that had a gun that had something happen to them? Either a misfire or they shot themselves accidentally in the foot, the leg?
Personally, no, I do not.
Okay. Well, since you're testifying, let me ask you, my hang up on this is you give somebody a gun and a revolver and an automatic weapon, they're two different guns. A revolver, you just load it, point and shoot. Automatic, you have things you got to put a clip in, you got to rack one in the chamber and that. And I guess my question is, I don't want somebody to have a gun that don't know which way to point it. That's my question to you.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, to the representative, what I would say is that for anyone who has bought a pistol, they have bought a box of ammunition with it. That box of ammunition typically holds 50 rounds. The state requirement is to shoot 30 rounds. So what I'm challenging is the idea that the state required mandate for training is somehow rigorous enough by any standards to justify its existence. When most people who are going to buy a pistol for lawful means are going to go take it to the range and shoot more than what the state actually requires. What we're opposed to here is the idea that somehow a mandated training requirement is going to make the state safer and is also a requirement on a fundamental right as well. when, especially already in the state of Michigan, a person can openly carry a pistol without having to obtain training. What we're saying is that open carry and concealed carry should be treated the same under the law. Requiring an expensive fee and then punishing it with a felony is unreasonable to us.
No, I get that. I understand that. All I'm just trying to say, if somebody carries a gun, I want it to make it safer for the people around him or her.
And I understand that, Representative, and what we've actually seen in states that have passed constitutional carry laws, I believe Representative Johnson touched on this last week as well, is that in states that have passed constitutional carry, there have been an increase in people of obtaining permits, or at least not a drop-off. The number continues to go up, which means in states that require training, such as Arizona, Wyoming, they require training, but they have constitutional carry, whereas the permit is not required. But what that still shows us is that people, even though you get rid of the requirement to have the permit, people are still getting the training. We just are against and opposed to requiring a permit in order to concealed carry.
One follow-up question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Well, then, you don't have a problem then if anybody gets a gun and you require them to at least shoot a box of ammo?
I would be opposed to the government requirement of that, yes.
Okay.
So I want to be clear about what specifically these bills talk about. And Brendan, if you are unfamiliar with any of the questions I'm asking, please
Sure.
feel free to let us know.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about AK-47s. AK-47s are rifles, right? Mm-hmm. Does this bill have anything to do with AK-47s?
Does not.
So I can buy an AK-47 right now, and I can carry it into the Capitol with absolutely no training.
If you're talking about the civilian grade, the one that can be legally purchased in the United States, yes.
Yeah. Now, fully automatic weapons. Does that have
Those are regulated by the federal government.
And these bills have how much to do with fully automatic weapons?
0.
Okay. With respect to the concealed pistol license that we're talking about, to get a concealed pistol license right now, you have 8 hours of training, 30 rounds, $115. If this bill gets signed into law, does that change who's allowed to buy guns in this state?
It does not.
Does it amend who can carry guns in this state?
It does not.
The only thing it does is it removes the requirement to get a permit from the government.
For the ability to concealed carry, correct.
Okay. Representative Carter has a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Had a couple quick questions. If you know, how much is the average cost of a pistol?
I mean, it depends on what you're looking at. I would say I've seen pistols from $500 up to $1,000. I know you can get cheaper ones than that even.
Right. So the purchase of a $500 to $1,000 weapon, but you want to eliminate the $115 fee?
You can buy a pistol for less than $100 in the state of Michigan.
That's correct. Yeah. I'm talking about, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but still, you want to eliminate the $115 fee after purchasing a weapon at whatever price?
To the chairman, to the representative, yes, I do, because if you do not pay that fee and do not have the requirements fulfilled, you will become a felon.
Okay. And the other question I have, if you know, how many people have been prosecuted just for CCW? No other crimes connected to it. There was nothing else going on, just for carrying a concealed weapon.
Personally, I know of one, a gentleman who called my organization and is being prosecuted for CCW and CCW only, and is now going to could potentially have his life ruined for CCW.
And Representative, we also have another individual, Tom Lambert, here, and he works with these individuals often. He might have a better number for you.
Okay.
Do you have another question?
Just one. No, I'm good.
Any other questions
Representative.
for this member of the public, person testifying? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Tom Lambert of Michigan Open Carry has a card. Spoke last week, but has some interesting new developments and wishes to testify at this time. And of course, since he's sitting in that chair, representatives, of course, he's all yours as well.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Members of the committee, what I'm about to talk about came about after last week's hearing, so it's new testimony. I will limit my testimony to this new issue and not cover everything I've talked about before. Last week, the Michigan Court of Appeals, in a published opinion, which means this is now binding on all lower courts in the state, held that you can be arrested and charged and convicted with this 5-year felony that we're talking about with receiving zero notice that your license was suspended or revoked by any authority. What happened is a guy had his license suspended and I think eventually revoked. He, years later, was pulled over. They looked in lien, said, nope, your license is invalid. We're going to arrest you with CCW and charge you. Section 8 of the act that we're looking at.
Tom, just hold on. Did he know his license was suspended?
There's a question to that. The trial judge found that he did not receive notice.
Okay, so the trial judge said he had no idea his license was suspended.
That is what the trial judge found.
Okay, and then he gets pulled over. Please
Yep.
continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 8 of the Act specifies that no licensee shall be criminally liable unless they have received notice. And if they haven't received notice, then any arresting officer shall give that person or individual the opportunity to stow their firearm and come into compliance with the law. This is very clear. We all understand what the word shall means. It's very clear what the intent of the legislature was. The Court of Appeals said that didn't apply to the CCW felony charge because the CCW felony charge is over in the Penal Code, not in the Concealed Pistol Licensing Act. But if you recall history that I talked about last week, the Concealed Pistol Licensing Act was passed in 1927. The CPL, or the CCW statute, 750.227, is in the Penal Code. It was originally Section 5 of the Concealed Pistol Licensing Act in 1927. But in 1931, the state of Michigan took a bunch of penal statutes out of other acts and coalesced them into the Penal Code. And yet the Court of Appeals here, in a per crum opinion, said, no, they're not related. This felony is not related to this section here that is entirely about licensing to do this thing that is otherwise a felony without this license over here. No, they're not related.
So, Tom, I just want to remind everybody, or just remind you that this isn't judiciary. I don't think any of us have your law degrees up here. If you could boil that down to military, vet, and Homeland Security language.
Forgive me, Mr. Chairman.
And it doesn't mean to insult the intelligence of anybody on this committee. I hope it wasn't taken that way.
The net effect of this opinion, again, it is a published opinion, which means it is binding on all lower courts. They have to follow this, is that a licensee can be arrested, convicted of this 5-year felony with zero notice whatsoever that their license status has been affected. It also means that this could happen. You could have your license suspended. The county could decide, let's have this officer bring this notice to you to make sure you receive notice. And when the officer brings the notice to you to tell you your license has been suspended for something you didn't even know happened, they could arrest you right there on the spot while bringing you notice. Because again, if we're not going to hold that notice is a requirement, then you could be arrested for anything.
And how does that affect, how does this apply to these bills specifically?
This stands as a tremendous, obvious due process violation. It is astounding to me that our courts would find this. It applies here because I want this body to understand how our courts treat this law. At every turn, they find opportunities to interpret this law in the worst possible way, despite numerous and conceded efforts by this body. In People v. Baker, they found that a license that was wrongfully suspended, despite a statute that the license had to be reinstated immediately, they still found that that was not enough, and they upheld the CCW conviction for a license that was wrongfully suspended. Apply that here with no notice, you can see they continue to do that. This opinion is People of the State of Michigan versus Cleophas Andrew Brown. The one I just mentioned was People v. Baker. In the 70s in People v. Henderson, the Supreme Court also said that even though the statute says without a license, they removed the element of without a license for the crime every opportunity looking for ways to interpret this against otherwise lawful, and I stress that, otherwise lawful people. Again, this came out just last week after the opinion. Thank you for the opportunity for me to bring this to your attention. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Representative Carter, I would be happy to address your question.
If you could, do you know any individuals who've been prosecuted?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Carter, I do not have the numbers for you, but I do know of numerous examples of an individual being prosecuted solely for CCW.
Thank you.
This committee has heard prior testimony on expired licenses where those individuals were being prosecuted solely for just CCW.
And is it your opinion that one unlawful, unjust conviction is too many?
Yes, sir.
Representative Churkin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this case, this wasn't all adjudicated. It still can't go to the Supreme Court, correct?
It still can go to the Supreme Court, yet 3 of our appellate judges, supposed to be pretty smart people, all found together that there was zero question here, that
So there was no dissenting opinion.
no dissenting opinion, not even dissenting opinion, it was per curum, which means they thought this was so obvious they didn't even need to slap a single judge's name on it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Despite the clear, unambiguous wording of the intent of this legislative body, that it shall work the other way, they said that it didn't matter.
Any other questions of committee members? Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you for your time again, members of the committee.
Hey, Tom.
Mr. Chair, I have a question about these bills, but not necessarily for
Thank you,
this
Tom.
person.
Yeah?
May I ask that question?
Absolutely.
Because I'm looking at the letter that we received from Trinity Health, and it addresses gun-free zones. And I just wanted to make certain that hospitals can remain gun-free if they so choose. This legislation would not change that. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct.
Thank you.
At this time, I will take a motion to refer House Bill 4770 with recommendation that it pass to the Committee on Judiciary. Representative Markkinen makes that motion. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
On the motion to refer, Chair LaFave.
Yes.
Representatives Mueller.
Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Affendulis.
Yes.
Markkinen.
Yes.
Jones.
Pass.
Churkin.
Pass.
Carter.
Pass.
Manugian.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay, 3 pass. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now entertain a motion to refer House Bill 4771 to the Committee on Judiciary with recommendation that the bill pass. Representative Affendulis. Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to refer, Chair LaFave.
Yes.
Representatives Mueller.
Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Affendulis.
Yes.
Markkinen.
Yes.
Jones.
Pass.
Churkin.
Pass.
Carter.
Pass.
Manugian.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
Referred with recommendation. I'll take a motion to refer House Bill 4772 with recommendation that it pass to the Committee on Judiciary. Representative Marino makes the motion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to refer, Chair LaFave.
Yes.
Representatives Mueller.
Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Affendulis.
Yes.
Markkinen.
Yes.
Jones.
Pass.
Churkin.
Pass.
Carter.
Pass.
Manugian.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
The bill is referred with recommendation to the Committee on Judiciary. Do I have a motion to refer House Bill 4773 with recommendation that the bill pass to the Committee on Judiciary? Vice Chair Mueller? Motion's made. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to refer, Chair LaFave.
Yes.
Representatives Mueller.
Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Affendulis.
Yes.
Markkinen.
Yes.
Jones.
Pass.
Churkin.
Pass.
Carter.
Pass.
Manugian.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
The bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary with recommendation. Chairman LaFave makes a motion to refer House Bill 4774 to the Committee on Judiciary with recommendation that the bill pass. Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to refer, Chair LaFave.
Yes.
Representatives Mueller.
Yes.
Marino.
Yes.
Affendulis.
Yes.
Markkinen.
Yes.
Jones.
Pass.
Churkin.
Pass.
Carter.
Pass.
Manugian.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 nay, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
The bill is referred with recommendation that the bill pass. There being no absent members, Any other business to discuss? We did approve the minutes. With that, the Committee on Military, Veterans Affairs, and Homeland Security will be adjourned.